Well, good morning, everybody. 10 o'clock in the morning here, Monday morning, and thank you for joining Mark and I here on episode 73. Well, the weeks are ticking away, and happy belated Australia Day to you, Mark.
Thanks, Bez.
And we're into the final stages now of wrapping this show up. And before we do that, we usually will give a recap of what we did, but we're not going to this show. Mark and I would just like to say what an absolute privilege it is to have had bring the show to you. And Mark and I are sad that we have to bring the show to an end, but like with all good things, they must close. And as the saying goes, guys, all good things must come to an end. And joining me now in the studio, and, and we start to wind up the shows. Here's Mark English. Good morning to you and welcome.
Thanks, Barry. Good morning to you. Good morning, viewers. Welcome to the show once again, episode number 73. So, as Barry said, usually we recap, but today that's not happening. So, what are we going to do today, Barry?
So we're gonna put it together a collage of the album about videos again. Now, what is complete? What is a highlights package complete? Not complete with the highlights of the show. Now, our first show was on the story Bridge. Now you all remember that one, don't you? It was a nerve-wracking start. And it was an overcast day for it. Here's Mark now to open episode 73 with that.
Thanks, Barry. Yes, it was a day that reminds me of today. So, a little bit overcast, not unpleasant. Actually, we were kind of lucky in a way that it was overcast because the trek up from James Street to the bridge, we were out in the sun. Well, I should say we were out, not protected by cover, for about an hour just trying to get to the bridge. So it was lucky that it wasn't a full sun day and too hot. Mind you, it was May, so
the end of May, I should point out. So that was our first episode. We got on the bridge and Mark had to put the umbrella up because a few spots of rain had fallen. Okay. I thought I was going to get wet through on the first edition of Out and About. But luckily for us, the rain held off. Now, once we got off the bridge, boy, the chair got bogged and I kept saying the F word because I got bogged a couple of times. And like Mark said on many of the shows, part of Brisbane is very old. And some have done up. Now, funnily enough, we had Harry, the taxi driver. He was the very first taxi driver we ordered through 1-3 Cats, but then unfortunately he couldn't take it back to Bray Park, which was where our studio was at the time. So, unfortunately, the driver that we got, like, you know, when drivers ask you which way do you want to go, the short way or the long way. And where did we go? The long way home. Take the long way home along the Gateway Bridge. And what do you think? And do you know what happened next? That's right. The driver turned off the meter halfway because it was stopping 90 or something dollars. Okay, so after a long trek home, it was very late. Here's Mark now.
Yes, it was quite late. Well, we were a lot later leaving the bridge than we thought. And then not only is going from Brisbane City out to the Gateway to get to Bray Park, it's not just a long way, it's also the slow way. So we had quite a long journey home, and of course, because we caught the taxi, we were very lucky.
I think it was after 5 when we got back.
Yes, it was. So makes it a long day when you get dragged or time frame gets dragged out like that. So long, and I suppose it comes with its own stress while you're sitting around just waiting, wondering if they're going to turn up in time for
On time
for getting you back to Bray Park on time, etc. So yeah, it ends up being quite a long day.
So we ended up getting the taxi outside the Story Bridge Hotel. We didn't venture in on that day. But the next day, May 31, I met with Derek. Okay. We had a meeting about Sydney, and there were no vacancies there at that time, and I was getting really frustrated and homesick and all that. So June came along. Okay, it started out okay. Episode 20, I thought I'd been improved for the house, but like Mark said, miscommunication. It was just part of my package. Here he is.
Yes, you had to do some kind of assessment that you thought was for the house, the new house, and it turns out it was just a standard where you need to do it just to fit the time frames and the ticking the boxes of your current package. So as it turned out, you did an assessment that you thought was to move, but it had nothing to do with moving.
Now, episode 20 took place on the 11th of June, not the 10th. Now this was a couple of days before I caught COVID. Okay, so on Saturday the 12th, went out, okay, felt a bit unwell, and then on Saturday, 13th of June, the wind was nasty. I went out to Deception Bay that day, and it was very cold and windy. And when I got back, I thought it was just a tickle in the throat, but then come Monday morning, I sounded like Barry White. I was doing my intro here in the studio, like we are doing now. Okay, and I was sounding, good morning everyone. This is episode 21 now. Welcome to it. And I thought the 8 weeks that I had counted down didn't happen. Now, the trip to Scarborough, first one, boy oh boy, I got worse as the day went on. And I had a sore throat, sniffly, and my chest was starting to hurt as well. I couldn't even finish episode 21, let alone that. And then the hideous wait for the taxis, guys, wow. That was, I was more or less going, more or less ready for bed. And luckily Pete and Sal were in the caravan park. They gave me some throat lollies and some cordial. Here's Mark.
Yes, it was very opportune for us that they were there at the time. So it was very convenient that you had a history with Pete and Sal, and obviously I had a history with Pete and Sal. So it was just dumb luck that the very start of their caravanning adventure happened to be a couple of weeks at Scarborough, and we happened to find them on that day. So we were lucky that they were able to supply us with throat lozenges and drinks, etc., while we waited a ridiculous amount of time for the
So, like I just said, I was going, here's Mark, I was going,
Well, there was more of, I don't know if we've ever shown you, but Barry can put his chair into recline mode.
So let me give you a
You
demonstration.
might have to move back, otherwise your table might hit the...
So here's how.
Yep.
Here's how I won on episode 21.
Yep.
Basically,
Picture that. with a hoodie on, and you've got exactly what was going on the day. I remember you had a jumper on, and you're kicking back in the sun and sleeping. But being able to recline in the chair like this,
and let's just say that I had a mobile bed,
you did have a mobile bed, which was handy.
but I forgot to bring a pillow and blanket. So guys, that's how that's how I required. That's how I was on that day. And eventually, when the cab did come, I was
You were wrecked by then.
wrecked. I was
Yep, you were already
gone.
yes, as low as you could go and still be awake.
Let's just say like a flat battery.
Mm-hmm. Exactly like a flat battery. Just enough battery left to blink the eyes. That was about it.
And as soon as we got back to Bray Park, guys, you know what happened.
Tested positive.
I did the COVID test, and what do you know? The 2 lines showed up pretty much straight away. And where did I end up? Not in this chair, straight into bed. It marked.
Yes, that was the start of a very low point for you in the house, wasn't it, Barry? Because you were absolutely isolated. You couldn't come out of your room. It was soul destroying, really. Just being stuck in there for 12 days.
Nearly 2 weeks worth. I can tell you it was no fun at all. It was awful. So, episode 21, up until the 11th of July, it was I can tell you guys, I was a downright wreck. And then 2 weeks later, Mark got the COVID, so we were both out. Here he is.
Yeah, so because I spent the day with you and you tested positive, back in those days I was considered a close contact, so I still had to isolate. And then, so that was the 2 of us for the first week, and then obviously you tested positive again and stayed in isolation. And I think we missed that week, and then the weekend coming up, so just after you would have got out, probably Friday or Saturday, maybe Saturday.
No, Sunday.
Sunday. That was the same weekend that I caught COVID. So you were just coming out, and I'd had my week of isolation, and then another week of your isolation, your second week of isolation, and then I got COVID, so that was me for another week.
So June ended.
Luckily,
so July came along, and then on the 8th of July, a dreadful thing happened. But we won't go into that on the show. So August came along, and Mark went on his holiday to Northern Territory, and had a wonderful time.
Yes, it was a holiday that I can easily recommend to anyone. We went to Kakadu and then just tripped around Darwin doing day trips, and absolutely fantastic holiday it was.
So September came along, we started going out to Winterpilly, Shorncliffe, Scarborough again, you name it, we did it. Here's Mark.
Yes, then we did get out a lot after that. So we did numerous trips to Indooroopilly, and in the meantime, we've done numerous trips to Chermside, Strathpine, Scarborough, Sandgate. So there's been lots of out and abouting.
There's been lots of out and about, just to correct you.
So also Botanic Gardens a couple of times, New Farm Park a couple of times. So we have sort of been concentrating on the north side of Brisbane. Easier to get to because Bray Park's well out on the north side. And unfortunately, we are slaves to taxis. So we can't get adventurous for fear of not being able to get a return taxi.
But October came, I was Crook for the first week. Mark was away, and daylight saving had kicked in New South Wales, of course. And then the following week, back to Winterpilly again. Okay? And I had a good time there. Here's Mark.
Yes, you do have a passion for time zone and all things jingly and loud. So, I think that might have been the first time I'd ever been to time zone was when I went with you guys. So I'd not actually been through the doors before, and it was suitably frenetic and loud.
So, November came along, okay? I had not stopped celebrating since that time. And I got the news about blackout in Sydney. And let me tell you, Mark and I celebrated. And that we did.
I think we celebrated with a cook-up, didn't we?
Yeah, that was, no, we went out to Chermside, I think.
Oh, yep.
That day. So, December came, we started talking about donating to the RACQ Lifeline. Okay, so which brings us nicely on to that. So if you've got any spare change, guys, please donate to Lifeline. Here's Mark to tell you.
Yeah, so Lifeline runs the emergency services retrieval helicopter that can pick people up who have been injured in remote locations and take them to a health facility. So it does a fantastic service for people, particularly of country Queensland, where services can be quite some distance from, I suppose, emergency services in the first place, and then once you've got emergency services, it's still a long way to a health facility for treatment. So the Life Flight helicopter can make things much safer and faster for people that are not near major centres, and they provide that service through funding. So you can either donate directly to Life Flight through the RACQ, or you can buy some of their promotional products, and they have a couple of toys, and the profit they make from those toys goes to running Life Flight as well.
And we're going to show you some right now.
Flight Shopper plush toy.
Yep, so this one cost me 15 and the bear cost 25. So if you buy those, the $25 bear and the $15 plush helicopter, well, the money you help to raise will help keep the Life Flight Shopper in the air. And now it's time for another shot. Well, now it is time to talk more about this year, okay, because before we get on to this year and the start of January, okay, during episode 61, which you'll be able to see, I received some very good news about the date for Sydney. And it was the 9th of February, then the 9th of March, but it seems as though it's the 20th of February, so as I said earlier on, okay, we are winding up the shows. I'm just giving you a demo, like pulling the reel in, I think, is Mark.
Yep, I imagine that it is like pulling the reel in, and yes, we are coming to an end. So there's a little bit of recapping. Hopefully there's a bit of new material, and effectively I think there's only another 2 weeks after this, and then it'll be back to Sydney time for you, Barry.
So basically, on a serious note, okay, we know that we banged on about this many times, but I won't have the chance to bang on about it once I get back to Sydney because I'll be settling down. Please do not engage on the phone angry or read your email and then suddenly go, here's Mark now.
Right, so what you're talking about is just maintaining control, and when you are engaging in a conversation for the purposes of organising anything,
Yeah,
then you must remain civil, keep your mind open, and concentrate on making sure that what is being said is clear so that people aren't getting confused and heading off down paths that they don't need to go down, and effectively keeping the focus on what it is that you need.
because if you don't stick to your subjects, guys, a lot of people are going to be thinking, what the, what the heck are we reading here?
Yep.
Because this has nothing to do with X, Y, or Z. So, if you want to talk about something else, okay, put it in a different subject. And like we said before, have your questions ready. Yeah, and the IS number, okay, and the questions you want to know, you want to ask, we should say. So be prepared. If you're gonna make a phone call or write an email, make sure you've got all the right tools to do to achieve the task with. Because if you come away with half the tools in your toolbox, guys, and you haven't got the relevant topics that you wish to discuss, either in person or via email, then how are you going to fit the nut or box? Here's Mark.
Yep. So you do need to keep track of what you're saying and make sure you're sticking to the topic, because anytime you deviate, it just requires more explanation because other people don't know what you're talking about. So please bear in mind that people can't read minds, so they need the whole explanation every time. And if it gets lost in translation and they end up with the wrong idea, that's really your fault as the communicator, because it's you trying to make your thoughts understood, and if people don't, then that's not their fault.
It's
You
your
really need to find a different way to explain things so that people can be on the same wavelength as you.
So we're gonna take a break now and come back to you with all more of this. But stay with us. You're watching episode 73 now. Welcome back to episode 73 now. It's Barry and Mark with you, and coming up to 12 midday here on this Monday. Glad you could join us here, and welcome along to you and all of you viewers out there that have been watching our show. We would like to go over with you now a subject that we brought up back at Brain Park, and that is called email etiquette. When you write an email, okay, have all your questions ready and the questions that you want to ask. such as what, when, who, why, how, etc. And joining me now in the studio at 12 o'clock. It's a very good afternoon to my good friend Mark English.
Thanks for having me, Barry. Good to be here. So, yes, I know that it is one of your pet projects, is trying to improve communication, and certainly written communication needs just as much help as verbal communication. So let us continue.
So, the importance of writing an email. Okay, stick to the relevant topic. Okay, but with me, I had to write down when, who, and what without going into the nitty-gritty. Here's Mark.
Yeah, so as Barry said, if your communication is going to be clear, then you need to be very specific. And in written communication, punctuation adds meaning to words. So just a series of words can have multiple meanings depending on where someone chooses to insert what should be punctuation, and to create gaps in timing to create meaning.
And like, for example, guys, I put in the email about the times that I'd like to get up there. Or when I'd like to get up when I arrive back in Sydney. So instead of just babbling on about the normal crap, okay, sorry about saying that, but I wanted to be quite clear on how I used to get transported around in Sydney. So guys, it is really important that you be really specific, okay, and don't confuse your questions. Have your questions, additional questions later. Here's Mark.
Yes, so if you're responding to specific questions, then you need to respond directly to those questions so that people understand that that's the answer to that question. If you then want to add, you need to be specific about why you're saying more, because that confuses people. So,
But in my case, I had to tell Sydney what my needs were and what my routine used to be when I was at the old house. So that way the new house would say, oh, okay, this is what he or she needs. So that the manager can say, okay, this is what's happening. So, like Mark said, he is right. Be specific in the email. Don't confuse the person with X, Y, or Z. Here's Mark.
yes, and any extra information you want to add, you must qualify why you're adding it, because it's not a question that they asked you. So, again, when you're dealing with communication, make sure that you answer the question that's been asked, and not the answer that you want to give, the answer to the question that's been asked. So quite often we have other things we want to say, but without the first piece of information the person asked you, they don't know what to do with the rest of the information that you've provided them if you haven't been specific about answering the question first, then adding extra information for this reason.
So when Mark was saying we write this email, before we came back on, I was specific. Here he is.
Yes, so Barry was very specific about what days of the week, for what time of the day, and what he did on weekends that was different, and the fact that it was a Saturday specific thing. So everything that they asked has been clearly answered and catered for the fact that you were doing things differently on Saturday to what you would do Monday to Friday, and particularly different to other days where you would go out. Saturday where you went out was a totally different time frame, and getting ready to go out was a different time frame, so getting cleaned up was a different time frame, and of course understanding when staff are going to be on to be able to get you back to bed, because Barry, as he is well aware, is a two-person hoist lift, so 2 staff members need to be there whenever Barry wants to go from here to anywhere. So it's one of the major considerations for staffing levels in your house, and they need to know when you do things in general so that they can cater for that.
Well, now it is time for a third idea now on the show, but before we do that, let's go over what we discussed on episode 72 of last week. We went to Skills Silkstone last week, and it was a lovely destination. Now, we talked about committing to appointments and things like that, but we won't go through all that again with you because we'll be pressing the play button on ourselves. So you think, what are Barry and Mark babbling on about this time? Same thing. But the most important thing, guys, is having everything ready, such as a medication sheet so that the doctors can write what medications you have. Here's Mark for this.
Yep, so the doctor just needs to fill in that sheet so that CPA, when you move back to Sydney, they have their own dedicated paperwork with the doctor's signature on it. I don't actually think that should be necessary. The doctor's signature and instructions on any paperwork should be fine, but they want it on their own. So we'll take that and try and get the doctor to fill it in, even though I suspect that the GP that we're seeing has had nothing to do with the prescribing of the drugs that you currently take. So paperwork's paperwork, it is.
Well, we've got to do it, so that's the end of
we've got to do it. So
otherwise, the ambulance officers won't know back in Sydney what medication I'm on. Here's Mark.
well, I believe you do have a drug chart here.
I do.
Well, this to me is, and it's all got doctors' signatures on it. So I don't understand why we're getting another piece of paper with the same information, another doctor's signature on it. That's the only point that I was making, was any piece of paper with signature and instructions for medication should be appropriate. And I don't even really vaguely understand why organisations need to keep reinventing their own wheel to have their own piece of paper.
Well, like we just said, we have to do.
Exactly right. Mine is not to reason why, Barry. I just follow the instructions.
It's like making a cake, isn't it? Unfortunately, I couldn't bring the bacon and egg pie instruction or cooking to you, but just recapping what you need. You need a dozen eggs, some bacon, some salt and pepper, and some good pastry. And you can brush the pastry with egg. Joining me back in the studio, as always, here's Mark.
Thanks, Barry. Yep, pie's in the oven, and it's now just up to time and temperature.
Okay, so we're not going to babble on about how we made it because we've already explained to you, but on a serious note, guys, well, not serious, but you know, when it comes to the end of a series of a television show such as this show, like a television show, we've had an absolute ball bringing this to you, and I can honestly tell you it has been the ride of our lives. We've had a lot of some hurdles along the way, and here's Mark to open the rest of today's show with that.
Yes, we have had some hurdles along the way, but none of them insurmountable, and all of them now in the distant past. So, you know, we've had a couple of little hiccups. It hasn't really affected output. Like, I know we've missed a couple of shows, but you know, that's just time. So we've done pretty well, I think.
And 73 episodes later, we've got to be damn proud of ourselves. And that's no mean feat. Now, I don't, but we must tell you guys, the episodes have been really interesting, and we hope that you've enjoyed them. Here's Mark.
Yes, well, we tried to make them as interesting as we could for you, Barry. And
Well,
to start with, and then, you know, try to keep them interesting for viewers as well. But there's no point in you doing stuff if you're not interested in it. So I would say mission number one,
put the show together, and what have you got? Mark and Barry.
Yep. And, the inspiration to go places and do things, that's all you, Baz. So hopefully you keep this this drive to share when you move back to Sydney. It might be a different show, but I'm sure you'll be able to bring us something.
So, unfortunately, I can't hear very well out of this right here, so you'll have to bear with me for a bit, but I won't go on about that. Okay, but the show itself, okay, I've had a lot of fun bringing it to you. Okay, and today we're going to put together a lot, some more old footage, some footage from last year for you on there. So we hope that you really enjoy the footage that we're going to put on there. Now, the reason why I wanted to put a series about together was because I wanted to show you the sights of Brisbane. Sort of like the Leyland Brothers, but like Mark said, without the terrible music and four-wheel drives. But my wheelchair is like a two-wheel drive. Okay, so
It is like a two-wheel drive, Barry, because it's definitely not all-terrain.
So, one thing we did speak about, and that is checking the weather. Check the weather before you go anywhere, guys. Don't just go willy-nilly and think it's gonna be sunny when it's not. And then get yourself soaked. And then get yourself sick. We spoke about this on episode 36 on the 29th of August. Now don't be surprised about how good my memory is, because it is damn good. I can honestly tell you now, August 29th is so far away, and we'd like to share that episode with you, the 29th of August, and we'd like to share also the Shorncliffe outing. That was episode 35 where we went to Doug's Seafood.
That was a good one.
That was a good one, and we're going to share that. And it was the construction of getting my move back to Sydney organised. And now, the construction is almost complete. Here's Mark now.
Yeah, so you're almost organised, aren't you? I actually don't know what else is left to organise.
The trip to the airport, the farewell party.
Well, the trip to the airport, I'm not even going to count that in the world of organising, because that's...
Or the bus is going to take me there.
Is it? Well, that'd be nice.
And believe Mark and I, we've been so busy putting the show together for you guys, and we really loved it. So guys, we don't mean to repeat ourselves, but you know, when you squeeze the oranges of their juice, you know, it really is the end of the chapter for us. Well, Mark will be here in Queensland, but I will be down in Sydney, being happy with my friends and more comfortable, because like we said last week, if the shoe doesn't fit, if the shoe, if the shoe isn't gonna fit on the foot, what's the point of buying it, Mark?
That analogy I get, and 100% Barry, never buy a shoe that doesn't fit.
Or won't fit, I should say.
Even if someone tells you it's going to fit, if it doesn't fit, don't buy it.
And
That's my only advice for shoes.
And like the guy said before, I've kicked the goal, and here he is.
Yep, you certainly kicked a goal, and you've achieved the things that you wanted to achieve, which is great. And now it's, you know, it's all systems go, getting life back on track for you.
And just let's go back to episode 20 or 19, where I thought I had the good news, but unfortunately that was on the 7th of June of last year. But again, that is in the 2022 book, which is now shelved. So this is the beginning of something new and the end of something old. And for Mark and I to have to say this, it is with a heavy heart, because sometimes if you wear something that is so tight and then you go to take it off and then you go, ow, that hurts, then you'll know about it. So, you know, take it off before it hurts you too much. Here's Mark.
Okay, I think what you were trying to say was, if your circumstances aren't right, do something about it straight away. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so.
Okay.
So.
Well, sometimes your analogies, I'm not sure where we're going, but that one, I think, makes sense.
So if you know that the shoe is too tight, take it off. Don't continue to wear it, guys, because like, you know, if you wear something that's ill-fitting, you're not doing yourself any favors. So this is where I've done something about it. And we'll take a break and check on the oven.
I think the oven's sweet, Baz, for at least another 10 minutes.
So how did I resolve the problem? Well, instead of me sitting around, I actually did something. I spoke to people. And were people gonna read my mind and assumed what I wanted? No. I emailed, I got on the phone, and wacko, here I was. Here I am, I should say.
Yep.
Because was Mark gonna do the work? No. Was anybody else gonna do the work? No. Was anybody gonna assume that they could read my mind? Of course not. I would not be so stupid and dumb and assume that things were gonna be resolved and people were gonna read my mind. Because when you assume that people are gonna read your mind, guy, people are gonna think you're playing mind games with them. And I don't buy that, and Mark won't either. I'm sure that he won't.
Quite right. If people want to play games and want to get angry about stuff but not tell you what the stuff is, or you should know what's wrong. It's like, what a 2-year-old attitude that is. People cannot read minds, never have been able to, and never will be able to.
Because if you act like a stupid 5-year-old guy and say, well, you should know what I want, and then start being an absolute smart aleck about everything, and then an absolute nincompoop, then, you assume that people were thinking, oh, okay, let's give him or her this, and then they think, well, hang on, didn't we go down this track before? So our advice to you is, if you want things done correctly and precisely, then don't play the mind games. It's as simple as that. Here's Mark now.
So I think that in reality, the only people that think that it's good to play mind games are those people that love conflict, love creating conflict, and they just love slipping into other people. And that's what they live for.
So,
And I just choose not to hang around with those people.
so if people were playing mind games with me, I'd say, nah, forget it. I've got better things to do with my day than my time and funding than wasted. Here's Mark now.
No, you're dead right, Barry. No one has got time in their lives to waste on that rubbish.
So if you met someone, had someone, and they were playing mind games with you, what would you do?
Me?
Yeah.
Walk away.
Would
Not
you,
even bothered to correct those people. It's so childish. Walk away. That's my way of dealing with people like that.
would you,
If you're forced by circumstance to have to deal with them to do something, everything's in writing. Absolutely everything's in writing.
so if someone was playing mind games with Mark, I think he'd be a bit annoyed by now, and so he should be.
I would be annoyed, but I'd only be temporarily annoyed.
So, at 20 to 2, the show is far from over. We've got 2 hours of talking to do. So let's make a phone call and then we'll bake an egg pie it up. Here's
Look
Mark.
forward to it.
Here's Mark now to take us out to the break with that.
Looking forward to the bacon and egg pie, Barry, and looking forward to coming back after the break and tidying things up on the show.
So this is episode 73 now. Stay with us.
See you soon.
Well, thanks everyone for joining us today on the show. Episode 73. Episode 74 coming up tomorrow. And we're taking you right to Riverlink on
Silkstone.
Silkstone Doctors. So we look forward to your company then on that show. And thank you everyone for being with us along the way. Okay, so we look forward to your company then, and we hope to see you sometime during tomorrow. And from Mark English and I now, have a great evening, and we will see you tomorrow at the same time. Here's Mark to say farewell now.
Thanks, Barry. Yep, we're looking forward to catching up with you again tomorrow. And, Barry and I have just had the loveliest afternoon dealing with technology and trying to order an airline ticket for someone else and then get the information to them. And for normal computer users, that might seem pretty simple. But to us, it was a rock solid hour and a half of entertainment, wasn't it, Barry?
And so we'll see you tomorrow at 10 o'clock, guys. And from Mark English and I now. Bye-bye.
See you soon. Bye.